Hello, welcome to Book Obsession. I'm Ashley Gunn. Today's book review is going to be on the Keller family series by Bernadette Marie. It's a 10-book series, and I was able to get the first 9 of them on my Overdrive app. So if you have it, I would definitely suggest you go ahead and try it as well. The way I'm going to do this review, because it is 10 books long and I want to keep this to one review, is that I'm going to talk about the dynamics of the series and the family, and then I'm going to talk about my favorite of the series. And if you guys have any personal questions or spoilers that you'd like to know about, any more in-depth questions, go ahead and email me at the end. All right, so the way that this family is set up is that there are 4 adults, and the first 4 books will be on those adults. There are 2 sisters, Reagan and Ariana. They're biologically related, and then you have Curtis and you have Carlos. Carlos and the girls are adopted, and that's what makes up this family. So the first 4 books are going to focus on them. And then the 6 last books are going to be on, the first 3 will be Carlos and Madeline's children. And then the last 3 will be on Zach and Reagan's children. So you're going to get the adults and then fast forward 20 years into the future and then the children, which is a really cool concept. Unfortunately, because of time restraints, I do have to condense this 10-book series down to the most relevant information and my favorites. So most relevant is Zach. He's in the first book with Reagan. He is going to own a construction business that was handed down generation to generation. And that construction business is like the heart and soul of this series. He's the CEO of there. Reagan is going to work there as his assistant for a while. John and Carlos are both going to work for him. Then later, Ed's going to become the CEO, where Tyler's supposed to take over. Spencer works there. I mean, it's a huge part of this book. It's kind of how everything interlocks and stuff, so you obviously have to talk about it. My favorite book of this series, I'm going to have to say, is Madeline and Carlos' story, because of the fact that it is so unique. Carlos and Madeline got married right out of high school, had 3 children, and got divorced. Their relationship just kind of fell apart. Both of them admit that they're too stubborn to put it back together. Madeline got married, I think, 5 or 6 months after the divorce, and she completely admits that was a mistake. She almost mistook comfort for love, because at the time she was just so distraught over the divorce. And that marriage has since broke up. It just ends right when this book starts, basically. At the same time, Carlos has been single for the last 5 years and is now in a serious relationship with Kathy. And so they're almost at completely different places in relationships. And then Madeline finds out she has breast cancer. So she's going to try to go through this with making as little inconvenience for Carlos and Kathy as possible, because she really does feel like she owes Carlos enough to make sure that he is happy. This is what I love. At her most irrational times, I completely understand her. So she'll go through things where, okay, she goes to a double mastectomy by herself without anyone there to help her, and just has her boss drop her off because she doesn't want to scare everyone, inconvenience anyone, make everybody worry about her. And she feels like she kind of made her bed and now she has to lie in it. Her and Carlos aren't together, and that's partly her fault. Her and Matt didn't work out. I can't say that that's her fault. That was just a mess. And then she obviously doesn't want to have her kids worrying about her and feeling like they might lose their mother. Although it is completely irrational for her to think that she can go through a double mastectomy and chemotherapy without anyone finding out. I completely understand her. She's my spirit animal or something, because I can't say that I wouldn't try to do the same thing. I mean, honestly, if I had to do it today, I would probably try my hardest to make sure that my sisters and my daughter didn't find out. I mean, obviously, I think that my husband would have to be my support system, but I wouldn't want everyone worrying. I would want them to have as many happy days between me being sick and either me healing or it getting really bad and me having to tell them as possible. So anyways, I completely understood her. And then her and Carlos having to kind of make this weird family where once he does find out, they try to support each other as best they can, because Madeline really does try and push everyone away. I just really liked that story. I thought it was unique from anything I've read before. And then Christian's story I liked because it surprised me. I thought it was going to be about him going from the minor league baseball to the major league baseball, and that is completely different. What ends up happening is he's in a car accident with his then fiance, Tori, afterwards, he's in a lot of pain. He had to have a lot of surgeries and stuff like that. His career is completely over. There was possibility it was over beforehand anyways. But so he feels like a broken person. Physically, he's broken. Mentally, he's broken. And unfortunately, in the car accident, it kills their best friends who have them as the godparents to their children. So they essentially inherit 2 children. And Christian decides that he can't be a parent to those children. So Tori has to step up. Obviously, this story is going to be about him trying to make amends to Tori for doing all of that, because he realizes how crazy he was for behaving that way. But I've never had something like that happen in a book. I've never read a book where somebody inherited children and just decided not to be there for them. That is crazy. And it was even crazier that this is the guy's head you're in, and that's the way he thought. So, but I love the way that Bernadette explained his behavior and stuff like that. So, also in Tyler's story, the female in Tyler's story is blind. And I love that her goal is to be strong and independent and have people treat her the same as they treat everybody else, as opposed to making her seem like she's somehow different. There are times when reading the story you completely forget she's blind. I really liked that also. Overall, I really liked this series. There were some things that surprised me and a couple of other things I think you should know. First of all, every single one of these 10 books is about love at first sight, or finding that person that you are at home with and who you know you're going to spend the rest of your life with. So you don't expect really long courtships. They're essentially going to go very quickly. So they meet and probably 2 weeks later are living together. It's really weird, but you get used to it after the first couple of books. And then the other thing I wanted to tell you guys is that this is not an erotic series. Because of the fact that it's love at first sight, romance books, and there's 10 of them, you would expect that it's an erotic series. But I would put this closer to PG-13. They do lead up to sex, but not the actual scene itself. And I don't remember which one, but there was one book that I thought focused more on the physical aspect of the relationship than the emotional side. I don't remember which one it was, but there was one book that I felt that way towards. And then the last thing that I wanted to just say that I loved about this series was the fact that everybody had their own part to play in the family. So whether it was that you were adopted, gave someone up for adopted, you were a different race. I mean, when you look at Clara's story with Warren, Warren's father committed suicide, his mother ran away, his stepmother basically is making his life a living hell, and he finds that he gets into this huge family when he's welcomed by Clara's family, and it almost makes him uncomfortable because he doesn't know how to handle having people's unconditional love. And it was special. I loved the family aspect of this series. I actually, when I went to look up to make sure that the 10th book was the complete series, I actually found out that Bernadette has written other series about families, and I'd be interested in reading those because she writes some really interesting storylines that I personally haven't found anywhere else. And so that makes it a little more special to me. When you have a good author that comes up with some unique storylines and pushes the envelope as far as what you think of as a family and love, I really appreciate it. And here's the thing. I have never recommended or liked a love at first sight book before because personally, I like that build up. I like the courtship. These books, as I read them, I almost appreciated the fact that we skipped the courtship and went straight to being open and honest and figuring out their relationship. I don't know. There was just something about the way she did those relationships that worked for me that other authors haven't been able to do before. So, as I said, I would be interested in reading her other books as well. If you like this review, go ahead and like it. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave those down below. And if you want my reviews every Tuesdays and Thursdays, then go ahead and subscribe. Thank you all for joining me, and I will see you guys again soon.